Jared here from soundguitarlessons.com. In my last video, I talked about a left-hand classical guitar technique that was a game changer for me and how I learned about it from working on the piece Milonga by Jorge Cardozo, which is a classical guitar repertoire piece. And in this video, I want to take that exact piece and analyze the composition of it and analyze the chords and the voice leading of it. I love doing this. I try to do this with any piece of music I ever play so I understand and internalize more of what the music is actually saying, and I'm trying to speak the language of music as I express myself with it. So let's go in and just look at what these chords are. And the cool thing is that it happens to be, this is a very, very famous classical guitar piece that's played all over the place, and the chord progression is a standard chord progression, the first 4 chords at least, that are used in a bunch of other music. So I'll give other examples of where it's used as well. And the benefit of analyzing this is that we might hear something as unique or a certain genre or a certain texture, and really it's using the same building blocks as many, many, many other pieces of music across genres widely. So let's take a look at this. So here's the beginning of the piece. I'll play it for you first so we can hear it, and then we'll look deeper into what the chords are. And it continues from there, but that's the part I want to analyze. Just thought it'd be fun to play the next section for you. And it goes on, but let's look at that beginning chord progression. Okay, let's just list the names of these chords, and then we'll talk about the Roman numerals within the key. This is D minor. It's a D minor triad with a 9. The open E makes it a 9. D minor with an add 9. So D minor, add 9. I have a lesson on what are add chords and why do we say add sometimes and sometimes not. I'll put a link to that in the description. Okay, the next chord goes to this shape, which don't think in terms of what shapes might kind of slightly look like, right? If you're familiar with this shape, which is a major 7 chord, a very standard root position major 7. This is E flat major 7 right here, and this note goes down to the bass note. You might look like, hey, that's similar to a chord I know. Maybe it's that chord, but it's actually not that chord at all. This is a G minor triad first inversion. This is the flat 3 as the lowest note, and then this is a complete little triad shape up here that's an inversion of that. So very cool to analyze this stuff because that's not obvious. It's not just like jumping to some really obvious G minor shape. So we have D minor, add 9, and then we have G minor, and there's still the open E in this progression, making it that eerie, kind of ethereal sound. And on a minor chord, this tone, this extension does get us kind of that very strange, eerie sound. It's a major 6 over a minor chord. So this is actually a minor 6 chord. This is G minor 6, which has 1, flat 3, 5, and has a major 6 in it. I have a video all about the theory of 6th chords. It's a really good video. Check that out if you want to master that knowledge of 6th chords. Put a link to that in the description. So the next chord is a very unfamiliar looking physical shape, and it takes a little kind of head scratching for a second to realize it's a very standard chord. This is really fun because if we're familiar with chord shapes and we think too much in shapes, we're gonna miss out on seeing this stuff. This is a really, really typical C dominant 7th shape. And I love using this and all the inversions of it, and I use that stuff for jazz comping and teach that in my courses and stuff like that. And this shape is a strategic way to get exactly this voicing that we think of as just the most typical root position off the 6th string dominant 7th chord. This note here is the 3rd of it, and that is E. So we're getting that with the open E instead, and then that means on that string we can add this note instead. Totally different physical shape, but now that is the 9. So now we have a C dominant 7 with a 9, so this is just called a C9 chord. And we get this beautiful floating C9. Okay, from there it's going to resolve to gorgeous resolution. We're gonna look at exactly what the voice leading is doing next. We're just naming the chords here and giving you the shapes. This is F major triad with a add 9 shape, but there's open E still. So it's F major 7, and it also has a 9, so it's F major 9. That means F major 7 with a 9. beautiful floaty chord. And then that goes to this voicing here. Okay, this is just F major 7. We have this triad, but then the open E. Wow, lovely. So that open E is going the entire time. So that's F major 7, then back to this, D minor add 9. Okay, the second time around it goes to this chord. And this is G minor 7, first inversion. So it's this voicing, but moved up, everything moved up a chord tone to be this voicing. And then that open E is still there. So it's G minor 7 with this 6 in there. So it's actually G minor 13. Okay, so G minor 13 is G minor 7 with a 13. I have a series on chord theory that goes, it's like over 20 videos long. That's a series that connects from beginning to advanced on chord theory and how to kind of map it out, all that stuff. Check that out if you want to. I'll put a link in the description. So this is going to lead us to A dominant 7. Okay, this is A dominant 7 with a flat 13. The reason it's flat 13 and not sharp 5 is because the E is in there. Okay, E is 5, so it can't be sharp 5, and 5, the 5 is there, so it has to be flat 13. Okay, so A7 flat 13, and then it goes to A7, there's that flat 13 again, melodically, D minor. Okay, so we have D minor add 9, we have G minor 6 first inversion, we have C9, oh I forgot this part, because I wasn't playing it through in time. This is beautiful. On the C9, this 9 goes down to flat 9. So now it's C dominant 7 flat 9. So it's C9, now C dominant 7 flat 9, which adds tension. Okay, then we have F major 9, which is F major 7 with a 9. Then we have F major 7. Then we have, again, D minor add 9. Then we have G minor 13 first inversion. Then we have A7 flat 13, A7 flat 13, back to D minor. Okay, let's quickly look at the voice leading, and then we're going to look at the Roman numerals and how it's a progression that is very common with a bunch of songs you've heard of. Okay, the voice leading, we're just going to go through that progression again and just look at how absolutely designed this is. Every single note goes to an intentional place. So this voicing here of the G minor first inversion, well, look at this shape up here that's D minor. It goes to the closest possible physical shape of the G minor. You can hear notes are moving, half step, whole step, or not at all. Okay, this note moves up a half step. This note stays the same. And this note on the top moves up a whole step. I have a video on composing with voice leading and chord inversions that I did recently. That's a really good one if you're into cracking the code on this. Check that video out. There's a link in the description. Okay, so then we go to this, and all I'm doing is just pointing out, we don't need to go through all of them. You get the idea that when these notes are moving, they're moving by very small amounts. So this shape stays the same up here. This bass note's going up a whole step. That's all that's changing. Here, this one note is moving one half step, and that's it. And that actually makes the movement go a half step to the next chord. You can hear it there. So it goes just gorgeous voice leading. When it comes back around at the progression again, we see how, again, from the D minor add 9 to the G minor 13, these top two notes are staying the same. Just so graceful. And then for the G minor 13 to the A7 flat 13, it's just fully strategic. I mean, all these names I'm saying came after the fact of deciding where every note should move. This sound to this sound is what the music is meant to be. It's not about calling it anything, and that makes it kind of overcomplicated. It is nice to know those names once to have command over it, but the fact that this is a G minor 13 first inversion and this is A7 flat 13 is way after the fact that really all that's happening is these two notes move down a half step. That is, this note moves down a half step, this note moves it down a half step. to get that sound. You hear some of the notes staying the same and some moving. So just super powerful to look at. Classical music is just designed that way. That's why it's such a wonderful thing to study. And every genre has its own kind of charm to what is so beneficial to work. Every single genre, not just only these academic genres. Everything has its own kind of specialty to look at. And I think with classical music, compositionally speaking at least, aside from the technical execution, which is great training, huge part of this is just the insane intentionality of every single voice moving to a specific place for a specific reason, with intentionality behind how that gives movement to the entire piece of music. Now let's look at just a straight up Roman numeral analysis, and this is a good thing to talk about after we went through all those details, because this seems really complex with all the orchestration, all the extensions, all the voice leading, everything like that, but this is a 6 chord in the key of F. Okay, now it is in D minor. The song is in D minor, the piece of music is in D minor, but we're gonna look at it for a second in this context. 6, then after that is a 2, then after that is a 5, and after that is a 1. So it's 6, 2, 5, 1 in the key of F. For those 4 chords, right? And really, it is indeed in D minor, where this is like the 1 chord, and then the G minor is the 4 chord, and then A7 is the 5 chord. So that is truly the context of what makes a minor key minor, is that 5 chord dominant 7 targets back to it. You hear that real resolution of kind of tension to resolution of the minor. But kind of in a little vacuum here, this 6, 2, 5, 1 is just so insanely ubiquitous and common and lovely. I mean, for a good reason, because it works so well. This is the same progression of Fly Me to the Moon. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Kind of cool to put that melody over the actual orchestration of that. Also, All the Things You Are, which is a absolute standard in jazz repertoire. You are the promised kiss of springtime. You are the promised kiss of springtime. Also, I Will Survive is the same progression. At first I was afraid, I was petrified. I thought that I could never live without you by my side. At first I was afraid, I was petrified. I thought that I could never live without you by my side. So we hear something like this, like very rich, very complex, very classical, very orchestrated, designed, voice leading, all of that. And yet, the bare bones of it, in these first 4 chords at least, 6, 2, 5, 1, all the thousands of other songs, and those 3 just being examples that you probably know. So the rest of the piece goes a lot between 1 and 5, but it comes back to that 6, 2, 5, 1 thing a few times. And I'm always doing this with every piece of music I learn, work on, classical piece, anything. What is the underlying harmony? And can I make sure I'm thinking of it and hearing it that way? So if I call D minor 6, it's gonna do that 6, 2, 5, 1 thing again. Then it's gonna do a 2, 5, 1 back to D minor. Then it's gonna do 6, 2, 5, 1 again. So just very beneficial. If nothing else, this helps us, I think, learn music faster and remember it way longer, because we have these like categories and labels for things I can remember. There's a way we're thinking of it beyond just, I hope my hands remember it, or I hope I remember how it sounds enough to pluck it out again. So here's what happens next if I call it in the context of D minor being 6. 6, 2, 5, 1. Okay, then it does something else. That was a 2, 5, 1 to D minor. Then it goes 6, 2, 5, 1 again, with the music being totally different. 6, 2, 5, 1. Little turnaround thing. And then back to more of the piece. Let's compare those 3, 6, 2, 5, 1s. Here's the beginning. 6, 2, 5. 5 with flat 9, 1. Okay. Here's the other one, 6, 2, 5, 1. Totally different sounding. Here's the other one, 6, 2, 5, 1. So I don't need to tell you, and I would never tell you that you need to know this, that it's like something you should know or that good musicians know this or whatever. If this feels like it kind of pulls your heartstrings or pulls your intellect strings, you know, just that your curiosity and your drive for what you want out of music, if that feels like valuable for you, you'll know just from us having this discussion and this demonstration here that like, wow, that does seem powerful to be able to know that all those three examples that I just played were all the exact same progression in the same key, and they sounded drastically different, but it ties together the piece of music so we understand, again, it more as a language and kind of as a science even a little bit. And I do love to just forget all that and let it go and not think of that too. I'm not always thinking of that stuff. This is one element of how I like to study and make sure I understand things. I do like to let go of it too. I find it to be a good combo of left brain, right brain, you know, pure expressive, raw creativity, and then some studying, some analysis, some really understanding, kind of like maybe understanding grammar of language might help you be a better writer, but it's not necessarily going to help you express more meaningful ideas in your writing that people connect to, but it might help you with your craft. So it's really this beautiful balance that I personally am always trying to be in both worlds at the same time, if not at least alternating between the two of them as a kind of complete artistic pursuit. This piece is very much a solo guitar piece of music where all the music is complete on one guitar. I have a free solo guitar arrangement pack that you can get with the link in the top of the description, and it has sheet music and tabs in it. It has several arrangements that are really great to work on your solo guitar chops, your technique, some beautiful arrangements, some jazz tunes, Brahms' Lullaby, Fly Me to the Moon is in there, so you can get that if you like. What I recommend watching next is my composing with voice leading and inversions video. I'll put a link to it on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube, and there's a link in the description if you want to get it from there. I post a new lesson video every week. Next week's lesson is about when you have two scales that you know work over a chord for improvising, which one do you choose to play, when, and why? If you know both work, why do you choose one or the other? I'm going to talk about that in the next video. Hope to see you there. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and happy practicing.